Salutations! Welcome to the long-awaited TLDR Aetherdrift video. This is a video where I recount to you the events that happen in the Aetherdrift story. If you don't have time to read it, you don't want to read it, or you can't read, I just learned how, so I'm excited. This video took a lot longer than I wanted it to bring to you because the sheer amount of exposition involved in this story that I felt the need to include for you was more than I thought. But we're returning to a pre-existing plane with my Thunder Junction and Bloomborough videos, totally brand new and relatively self-explanatory. Cowboy plane, cowboys, cool. Cute animal plane, cute animals. But now we are returning to a well-loved plane with a rich and long history. So here we are. Now, before we get into the episode-by-episode breakdown of the Aetherdrift story, I want to talk about, just for a second, the event that frames this entire story. That event is known as the Yippee Grand Prix. And when it comes to the Yippee Grand Prix, there are three questions I'm going to answer for you here today. What is that? What is the Yippee Grand Prix? What are the stakes? And who is racing? Starting with the first one, what is that? It's a race. This is a multi-planar race that takes place over a week-long period. Traditionally, it starts at night. This is a nod to its past of being an unsanctioned secret event that was held just among those who were passionate about this. It was also illegal, so they had to do it when there were less people around. Whatever. It starts at night as a nod to that. This is actually its second year being a huge event, so that's fun. It takes months to plan and put together, because obviously you need contractors, diplomats, envoys, media. It takes place over multiple planes. They got to figure out what planes. There's a lot that goes into it, obviously. Now, the race is going to be taking place on 3 different planes. We have Avishkar, formerly known as Kaladesh. We will get into that later. Amonkhet, my beloved. And Muruganda. Shout out to those who even know what that is. So it's going to start on the home plane of Avishkar. From there, it's going to go to Amonkhet. From Amonkhet, they're going to go to Muruganda. Now, it might make sense for them to go from Muruganda to Avishkar, but you would be incorrect because they're going to go back to Amonkhet, and from Amonkhet, they're going to finally go back to Avishkar. This is how the race works. Don't ask me why. I just work here. Now, do note that the Grand Prix aspect of this race is the big ticket event, but there are lower circuit races that are happening at the same time. I'm not going to be covering them because, no thank you. Just know that they're happening, just for a little extra detail for you, so you can say, did you know, guys? The Yippee Grand Prix is not actually the only race that happened. It's going to be really useful information for you later, maybe. Hey, you never know. Moving on, what are the stakes? Now, every racer is racing for their own personal reasons, but on paper, everyone is racing for an untested experimental piece of technology known as the Aether Spark. Now, what is the Aether Spark? It is what it says on the tin. It is a artificial planeswalker spark made out of Aether. But again, like I said, it's untested, so we don't even know if it works, if it's safe, if you can use it over and over again, or if it's just a one and done sort of thing. No idea, but you're gonna race for it. That's your prize. You're welcome. Now, you might be wondering also, in the age of the Omen Path, why would anyone care about a Planeswalker Spark? Seriously, I can just go through a series of portals and be wherever I want to be. Well, it's almost like this could maybe be foreshadowing. Maybe, and hear me out here, guys, maybe Medusa and the physical embodiment of men will do anything except go to therapy are going to take that Digimon they found in a back alley dumpster and get silly. Perhaps the age will come to an end someday. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Moving on to the final question, who is racing? So this race isn't made up of individual racers, but actually teams of racers, so that's fun. The teams are as follows. First off, we have the home team, the Aether Rangers. The Aether Rangers are co-captained by Pia Nalar, Chandra Nalar's mother, and a mysterious figure known as Spitfire. Next up, we have the champions of Amonkhet. You'll never guess where they're from. They're from Amonkhet, and you will never guess why they want to win. For the glory of Amonkhet. Yeah, I know. That is so uncharacteristic of the Amonkhet people. Wild. I love Amonkhet. This is all jokes, but they're so great. Whatever. I love Amonkhet, but it's very much like, I'm from Amonkhet. My hobbies include Amonkhet, gods of Amonkhet, my fellow Amonkheties, likes, Amonkhet. Dislikes, Amonkhet haters. That is your average Amonkhet resident. Okay, I've said Amonkhet way too many times. Anyway, the champions of Amonkhet are led by an undead Leonin charioteer named Zahur. I think that's how you pronounce it. Also, Bazriket, my beloved, is on this team. My literal husband. Love him. Glad he's still around. Glad he's doing whatever he's doing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Put up the art of Bazriket. Oh my gosh. Okay. Moving on, next we have Team Cloudspire. Now, Team Cloudspire are originally from the plane of Kylum, but they recently immigrated to Avishkar. Kylum is the plane that Battlebond took place on. Oh, you don't remember Battlebond? Najila. There you go. Cloudspire also won last year's race, so they're pretty prepared for this one. Aesthetically, they're very much giving like cyberpunk, but not Kamigawa cyberpunk, like Cyberpunk 2077 cyberpunk. It's giving some of this action, you know what I mean? Look at this. He's got Mabel. Okay. Actually, no. You know what they're giving more than that? Tron. But if Tron introduced more colors. If Tron had a warmer palette, that would be Cloudspire. Yeah. Now, something else to note about Team Cloudspire is all of their racers, in some shape or form, are stars. They value pedigree, personality, and professionalism. So think of them as an entire racing team of basically influencers and celebrities. Form your opinions on that how you will. Their co-captains are a individual named Kolodin and Chandra Nalar. Whoa. This is a point of contention because Chandra Nalar is choosing to not be on the Aether Rangers, but instead this team. This is her home plane. She's not going to be on the home team. Her mother, her literal mother, is on the Aether Rangers, but Chandra chose not to. Well, that's because Cloudspire won last year and the Aether Rangers didn't, and she can't afford to lose, so. She really, really wants to win for, obviously, her girlfriend, Nisa. Nisa does not have a Planeswalker Spark. Technically, the Aether Spark is a Planeswalker Spark. We don't know if it's safe, but you know what? Love conquers all, baby. Good for them. Moving on, we have the eyebrow-raising team known as the Guidelight Voyagers. The Guidelight Voyagers is a team comprised entirely of robots, and they are all controlled by their captain, known as the Mendicant Corps. They're basically a hive mind, a robot hive mind, which, in a post-Phyrexian invasion multiverse, is something to cast a sidelong glance at. I'm not making any accusations. This is all alleged, okay? I do not want a cease and desist from the Mendicant Corps in my inbox after this video goes up. Thank you. This is all alleged. They look friendly. They look friendly. They don't look oily, but, not every Phyrexian looks oily. I'm just saying facts. I'm just saying what I think, okay? Now, they are from an unknown plane. They just sort of plopped onto Avishkar one day, and they're hoping to participate in this race to find their way home. Best of luck to you guys. It's going to be difficult because your home plane is literally phased out now, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. I am keeping an eye on you guys, though. Just saying. Next up, we have the best team, the team that you should be rooting for. That's going to be the Speed Demons. The Speed Demons. I love the Speed Demons. The Speed Demons are a racing team comprised of possessed racers, and they drive haunted vehicles. Their captain is Winter. Yee! And the Speed Demon himself is also a part of the team, but he's basically Winter's chaperone, so that's cool. They are all from the plane of Duskmourn, and if you didn't know, Duskmourn is a plane comprised entirely of an unfathomable, Lovecraftian demonic being known as Velgavoth, and they are all racing for him because Velgavoth told Winter, hey, you get me this Aether Spark, I will give you your freedom. You don't give me this Aether Spark, you will not want to find out what happens. Okay? You'll be a part of the house forever, though, so have fun with that. I find it interesting that Winter took that bargain when technically, in the Duskmourn story, Winter was promised his freedom if he basically betrayed the Planeswalkers in that story, which he did, but he's still not free. And you can argue that technically, Velgavoth opened the door that Winter could walk through but Winter was unsuccessful in that. You could also make the argument, well, there was an active battle going on, and Winter tried. And finally, I will say to you, one foot in front of the other, buddy. Figure it out. The door was open. All you had to do was walk through it. And now you're in a death race, looking cooler than you ever have, and you have a demon chaperone. People wonder why Winter is so edgy and just so downtrodden all the time. Can you imagine being in this fun, cool racing event, but you have a giant demonic glitch ghost entity behind you the whole time, breathing down your neck? I wouldn't be too comfortable with that, honestly. It's just like, wow, this is so fun. Wow. Aetherdrift is so cool. I'm having a great time. So happy I was unable to walk through that door. So happy to be here. I literally can't talk to anyone on my team because they're all just possessed by demonic entities. Can you shut up? But yeah, Speed Demons, best team. I am also channeling Winter and the Speed Demons with all my little spikes and everything because I love them. Supporting Winter with all my might. You got this, buddy. Moving on, we have the Goblin Rocketeers. The Goblin Rocketeers are a team of goblins. And back on their home plane, they created a little rocket that shot them very, very high up into the sky. And they landed not on the ground in a fiery inferno, but instead through an omen path and ended up on Avishkar. And they saw a race going on and were like, hey yo, this looks like a good time. Somewhere between that, Duretti also discovered this group, and obviously I'm believing that Duretti probably wants the Aether Spark because he's trapped on Avishkar right now, and so bro threw a lot of money, like he's literally the sponsor of the Goblin Rocketeers. He threw a lot of money into this because he wants to get the heck out of here. Obviously Duretti is the co-captain of the team. The other co-captain is a goblin known as Redshift. Now, the other goblins, obviously barring Duretti, because he is a different breed, they believe in an entity known as the Boost God, and they're goblins who like rockets. I think you can probably put two and two together what that is. Next, we have the Alacrian Quick Beasts. Now, they hail from Alacria, and an interesting note is that the rider and the quick beast are not just like master and animal. They're actually paired together. And the rider has to go through a long, rigorous process of training and schooling before they can ever even mount a quick beast. Quick beasts, too, are not, they're kind of living beings, but they're also avatars. They're certainly not cars or machines, but they're like avatar animals. It's very, very revered species, and the quick beasts themselves have to consent to their rider being a part of their lives and also choose the rider. Just be like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're partners now. Good for us. So it's a very sacred, awesome thing. Now take all of that background information about Alacrian quick beasts and their riders and throw that out the dumpster, because the co-captains of this team did not choose each other. They were actually forced together by tragic circumstances back home that, as far as I know, never get elaborated on. So that's awesome. Their names are Caradora and Lagarin. Nice. Moving on. Next, we have the Speed Brood. They're bugs, and they ride bugs. And they're from an untranslatable plane, presumably of bugs. The vehicles the racers ride are actually made of their transformed exoskeleton. And depending on who you are, you think that's either the coolest thing you've ever heard of or kinda gross. Personally, I think that's a little icky, but I'm not a bug person. Maybe that's kinda cool. Their captain is Achik. I think that's how you pronounce that. And she hopes that by winning this race, she can prove herself worthy for metamorphosis. Whatever that means. Then we have the Keel Haulers. They're shark people. They're a shark team of shark people. Technically, they're called Chordatans. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. That's how you spell it. No idea. Don't even bother correcting me in the comments. I'm just gonna say shark people, because that's what they are. But they recently landed in Avishkar, and they love it here. They love Aether. They love being at the top of the food chain. They're thriving. So why not also enter a death race, right? Why not? Their captain is a fella named Howler, and interestingly enough, the Keel Haulers also have a mercenary guide / envoy, that being Kari, Zev, and Ragavan. Another interesting thing to note, no other team mentions having a mercenary guide or envoy. just the keel haulers. I kind of think that's just a weird way of them trying to sneak in Kari, Zev, and Ragavan into the story somewhere without putting them explicitly on a team, but I could be wrong. And last but certainly not least, we have the End Riders, who are probably the most subtle Mad Max reference ever. They come from a dying plane known as Gastal, and they're racing for gas. Literally, that is what they're racing for. They are running out of gas, and they need more. So they're entering into a race. I don't know. I'm just telling you the teams. Their captain's name is Far Fortune. Cool. With that, we have all of the racing teams. You have all of the background information on the Gear Per Grand Prix, and you are ready to enter into the TLDR proper. So let's start our engines and start the TLDR. Yippee! Look at all these props I have for this video, guys! Go Speed Demons! Put in the comments right now who you think is gonna win, and if I see any comments that are not Speed Demons, there will be consequences. Alright, episode 1 begins with a character named Ishikari Bindra. And Ishikari Bindra is the creator of the Aether Spark. She made it because after seeing the planar bridge and how awesome that went, she wanted to do her own thing. Now, Ishikari has a bit of an obsession with the idea of creating an artificial planeswalker spark. No one takes this seriously. They think she's loopy. But she takes herself seriously. And she's actually created an entire machine that's going to be able to make that happen. The only awkward thing is when we meet her in the story, the Phyrexian invasion is happening. So she's like, well, I will die today, but I want to make this spark thing happen. I don't have a wizard to power this machine and open up a little thing in the, like a little crack in the blind eternities for me to suck out enough aether to make a planeswalker spark, or a piece of the blind eternities to make into this planeswalker spark. I don't have that luxury. Rashmi thinks I'm crazy, and the planar bridge, that's gone. But these horrific Phyrexians punching holes in the multiverse with their little invasion tree, technically that's opening up a little piece of the blind eternities. So I'm gonna fire up my cool planeswalker spark making machine. It'll kill me in the process, but hopefully the invention that results will be super awesome and will be put to good use someday. So that's what she does. She fires up the machine. She dies in the process. Rest in peace, Ishikari. You live for like 3 whole paragraphs. And the Aether Spark is created. I do find it funny that her last dying thoughts are, I hope this gets put to good use. And then they're like, welcome to the Gear Per Grand Prix. We got this big glowing ball and that's your prize. Let's go. Like, it's just a sensationalized, it's used as a prize in a spectacle event. I don't know if that's what Ishikari really wanted, but she's dead now, so who cares? We are introduced to a character known as Sita Varma. She's the daughter of a former consulate member known as Mohar Varma. And when the episode opens, she's sort of lamenting the fact that her father is so consumed by what his life once was when he was a member of the consulate. He doesn't talk about anything that he used to talk about. Like, they used to enjoy engineering and talking about inventing and stuff like that together. No longer. All he wants to talk about is politics and how much he hates the current political climate of the plane that they live on. Now, before we continue here, I want to take you to the additional context corner, because I feel like in order to really grasp the undertones of how Mohar feels and why he does what he does and everything like that, you're gonna need some additional context about what has happened on Avishkar since we last saw it, why it's not called Kaladesh anymore, and what the consulate even is. So go to the additional context corner, and I will see you when you're done. Hello, welcome to the additional context corner. I'm still Alice. I'm not a different character. And we're also not even in a corner. So you know what? Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to be giving you some additional context about the history of the plane of Avishkar until now, because it's going to benefit you in understanding the story. I promise it will benefit you. If you don't think it's going to benefit you, I don't know what to tell you. And you know what? I don't remember asking. Anyway, a lot of you might already be familiar with the plane by the name of Kaladesh. Obviously, we now know it's called Avishkar. I'll get into why, but for the sake of less confusion, in this segment, I'm going to refer to the plane by its old name, Kaladesh. But after this segment is over, it's Avishkar and only Avishkar going forward. Is that all right with you? Okay, great. You might be already familiar with the fact that Kaladesh is and was governed by what is known as a consulate, but it wasn't always like that. Before that, you had a bunch of kingdoms. That's what made up Kaladesh. And all those kingdoms were constantly at war with each other. And that's bad news. No one likes war. Some people like war, but the people of Kaladesh didn't like war, and a specific group of inventors also didn't like war. So they got together and negotiated peace, and they established the city of Girapur as a neutral negotiation ground. And this is also where we see the establishment of the consulate. Yippee! Less war, we got a new governing body, everything's great. And it's gonna get better because Aether is discovered, refined, and this consulate, this first iteration of the consulate, were the ones that facilitated the free distribution of that Aether to the people. Awesome! Things are going so well on Kaladesh. I love that for everyone. Is this gonna last forever? No, it's not. Because one day, the consulate was like, listen guys, I have a cool idea. All right, give me a second. Me and the boys have been cooking this one up in the lab, and we think you guys are really gonna enjoy it. All right, how do we feel? Thoughts? I think it's a pretty good idea. I think it's a pretty good concept that's gonna benefit everybody, especially the rich ones though. You can clap whenever you want. I am awaiting my applause. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what artificial scarcity is, it's when you artificially limit the availability of a resource in order to drive up its value. So in this case, the resource is Aether. And basically what the consulate was doing was saying, hey, not a lot of Aether to go around. It is a very limited resource, and we cannot give it to people that we deem unworthy of it. This would include undesirables in our minds, criminals, the poor, people who don't work hard enough for it. Yeah, you know, so those people don't get it or get less of it, and we get more of it because we work hard, and frankly, we deserve it. And this creates a hierarchy structure where obviously you see the upper class and members of the consulate having buttloads of Aether, and everyone else at the bottom scrounging for scraps. And then Tezzeret joins the consulate. You might be wondering, why is Tezzeret joining the governing body of a plane he is not from, that he does not know anything about? Well, why does Tezzeret do anything? Let's start there. Because he likes to be annoying. End of conversation. But Tezzeret joins the consulate because of an event happening known as the Inventors' Fair. Now, on the surface, the Inventors' Fair was supposed to celebrate the renaissance of invention happening on Kaladesh at the time. But under the surface, it was also a way for the consulate to go, wow, that is such a cool invention. It is mine now. Hee hee. But Tezzeret knows that this event is happening, and he wants access to these inventions, specifically one invention known as the planar bridge. He wants that. I wonder why. Who knows? He's certainly not going to do anything that has far-reaching consequences that's going to change the entire course of the multiverse for a long time to come, all for something really stupid. Probably not. He probably just likes the way the lights look. He thinks it's pretty. We all have our Dak Faden moment, and he's having his Dak Faden moment, surely. Also, while he's there, he just makes things way worse for the average person on Kaladesh. He's facilitating the further restriction of Aether access, just lying to people about what this event even is, sending peacekeepers to just arrest people that are annoying to him and the rest of the consulate. So just furthering all the bad parts of the consulate, which is pretty much all of it. So awesome, Tezzeret, doing well as usual. So glad you're here. But obviously, the people of Kaladesh don't like this, and they begin to rise up against Tezzeret and the consulate. And what does Tezzeret do? As the revolution is mounting, tensions are high, and he's in danger. Well, he does what he always does. In situations like this, he planeswalks away, obviously with the planar bridge. And he abandons the consulate to their fate, and they buckle immediately under the weight of this revolution, and this event is known as the Aether Revolt. Now, what is the result of the Aether Revolt? Pia Nalar, Chandra's mother, is given a seat on the consulate, and she is trying her best to advocate for free distribution of Aether. But there's a problem here, because Pia Nalar is essentially the dressing that you drizzle over top of a pee-pee poo-poo salad. She's trying to make it better, but she can't. Literally, nothing else changes. Nothing. The old guard of the consulate, they stick around and they say, yes, guys, we are gonna change things. But not in any way that's gonna make us any less rich. Because listen, if at the end of the day, some change that I enact makes me less rich and I live less of an opulent life, are you really gonna be able to sleep at night? I will only have one palace instead of two. How does that make you feel? Probably not good. Probably not good. So I can't change things. I can't, because I like being rich. So, and nothing changes. And people get angry again. And then the Phyrexian invasion happens. It's not good. It's horrifying, traumatizing. And the consulate was unprepared for this. During the invasion, the consulate was basically like, whoa, guys, it's getting kind of crazy in here. This is, whoa. I had no idea this was gonna happen. We were wondering what we're gonna do. What are we gonna do? We're gonna... So yeah, they abandoned everybody, basically. They claimed that they were unprepared. They didn't know this was happening. But the consulate was warned several times by several different people. And you know what? Literal Phyrexian symbols were appearing in the skies of different planes before the invasion even happened. So if no one physically told you with their mouth and throat, I think that would be a clear indication that maybe something's gonna go down. You could have asked questions. You could have been like, hey, weird cloud that's been there for 6 months. Let's investigate. You're the government! Anyway, they didn't do anything. So the people themselves had to rise up and defend their home against these invaders. And eventually, the invasion was thwarted. And the people went to the consuls and said, really? Yeah? You're gonna do not? Okay, cool. Hey, that was stupid. Could you step down, please? This is not a request. This is a demand. You're all lame and stink a little. Go away. So we see the old guard of the consulate step down. They're like, oh, fair enough. Hey, listen. Yeah, we dropped the ball back there. So we're going to go. We're gonna go. Goodbye. And this event is known as the Indigo Revolution. And from here, we see the NCC, or the New Culture Collective, basically make up the new government. So the consulate is still around, they're just better. And they make actual changes, like, for example, freely distributing Aether to the people. Oh my god. It only took way too long, but we got there. And if you're wondering who the NCC are, they started out as the individuals that formed the first, what would become the Yippee Grand Prix. They were the predecessors, they started it. It was just an unsanctioned race that kind of spited the consulate at the time. Eventually they grew into a revolutionary group that would become the revolutionaries that overthrew the consulate. And you know who was a part of that group? Pia Nalar. She is no longer dressing on a pee-pee poo-poo salad. She is dressing on a good salad, not made out of pee-pee poo-poo. But yeah, that's all the additional context about Avishkar/Kaladesh. Now we can continue with the video. Welcome back. Do you feel informed? Awesome. So yeah, Mohar is lamenting the days when he could just continuously get rich and everybody else would stay poor. And it's interesting too that a character like Mohar exists in this story, because it just shows that there still do exist members like him of the public that don't really accept the changes happening to the plane. Like, he literally still calls the plane Kaladesh. Like, he's not accepting of anything. And he's most certainly not accepting of this new Yippee Grand Prix that's taking place. And they're listening to a broadcast about it, and he's mumbling and grumbling and groaning. He's also going on a long-winded rant about how he hates that the new Night Minister, Gonti, is the Night Minister, and he's just a criminal, and blah, blah, blah. And Sita could care less. She has other things she wants to talk about and other things she wants to do, like racing in the Yippee Grand Prix. Do you remember back in the beginning when I talked about how the Aether Rangers have a mysterious co-captain known as Spitfire? Yeah, that's Sita. And she has to do so under a fake name and wearing a mask, because she knows that if her father found out, he would have a fit. And it's not like she could just not wear a mask and no one would say anything. This is literally televised across the multiverse. So she's kind of got to do what she's got to do here. But Sita waits a couple of hours until her father invites over his latest guest for a game of cricket, and she sneaks out to go and be Spitfire because the Grand Prix is going to begin literally today and she's got to get there. So she sneaks out, she goes to the garage, and she meets up with Pia and Alar. And they start getting ready for the race. Chandra is just trying to go out and get some tea, but she's being swarmed by paparazzi. She tried to wear a disguise of just multiple of Nisa's sweaters, but that didn't work. It's almost like her appearance is universally recognizable. I don't know. But she's swarmed by paparazzi. They're asking her all sorts of questions, among them being if there's any bad blood between her and her mother, because Pia is also racing, but in a different team. And she dodges that question. So definitely might be a little bad blood there. I don't know. After this scene, then we transition over to Winter, who is basically being told the stakes by Valgavoth, like, hey, win this race or you become a part of the house forever. Winter's like, cool, great, lovely to be here. Sounds like fun, whatever. And with that, episode 1 comes to a conclusion. Episode 2 begins with a cute little scene of Chandra and Nisa waking up in the morning, and they're all like, we're girlfriends. Then, oh, I'm gonna give you the Aether Spark, Nisa, and you're gonna be able to planeswalk again, and you can go back to Zendikar. And Nisa's a little bit apprehensive about going back to Zendikar. She's like, oh yeah, that'd be so fun. Anyway, don't you have somewhere to be? And they're interrupted by Pia, who's like, hello, Nisa and my ungrateful daughter. Breakfast is ready. Pia does not let go of the fact that Chandra is racing for a completely different team. Like, she's very much bitter about it. And she has every right to be. Chandra, seriously, do you not believe in your own mother so much that you're just like, yeah, she is not gonna win this. I'm going over to Team Clownspire. Thank you so much. Then we go to the opening ceremony of the race. Sita is running late because she had to make up an excuse to be gone for an entire week and also wait for her ride to get there. But she's finally there. She's finally arriving. Pia gifts her a racing suit that gives her the ability to utilize Aether to basically like stop time and just kind of like weave through everybody. It's like, you know, when you play a racing game and you can use, what is that, NOS or whatever? It's like that, except it stops time and it's Aether. So it's kind of also not like that. Whatever. That kind of seems like it's cheating, but I don't make the rules. Then cutting back to Chandra, she's really bored, just waiting for the race to start. The Cloudspire co-captain is making a really long-winded speech, and she's kind of just like dozing off when she hears something yelping and calling out for help. And she's like, who is that? What is that? No one else is reacting to this right now, but I can hear it loud as day. Something is like yelling out in pain. So she gets up and she starts moseying around and investigating, and she comes across the Speed Demons, the best team, and she finds a little creature in a cage. It's Loot. The Speed Demons and Winter have Loot in a cage, and it's a cage that's described to be way too small for Loot, so he can't like get comfy. He just has to stand there, and he's telepathically calling out to Chandra to help him. And you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of Loot, but like, Winter, really, dude? You are metaphorically in a cage right now, and you're gonna make something worse for a little critter? Just get a better cage. Get a bigger cage. Is it that hard? Make the whole trunk of your vehicle a cage. Justice for Loot. Seriously. But Chandra goes up to Winter and says, hey, could you like give him a little breathing room maybe? Like, little bro's uncomfy. And Winter claps back with the most sinister line. He says, how about you keep your eyes on your own page, Chandra Nalar? Chronic hero syndrome gets you last place and 6 pallbearers. Yeah. Actually, quit the race. Actually, move to a new plane. Actually, you're canceled. You fell off. Chandra Nalar, who? Winter has no time for anything. Certainly not Chandra's little, oh, can you give him some breathing room? How about I take him out of the cage, douse him in milk, and slap him against my walls? How about I stick him in the microwave on defrost and see what happens? Or how about you turn around and walk the other way? Obviously, Chandra's annoyed by the fact that she just got embarrassed. And Winter just shrugs. He's like, you're still standing here. And she takes the cage and bends the bars so Loot has a little bit more breathing room. And then says, see you on the track, loser. Which is the stupidest response. Yeah, well, you're dumb. So, see you later, loser. Now that Loot has breathing room, I'm gonna adjust the cage to open it. This wasn't even, like, totally for the bit. I thought this cage would be a little bit bigger, but it wasn't. And it was just divine comedy at work. Shortly after this altercation, the race begins, and things are already not going well. There's a huge platform that's holding up a majority of the audience, and like as soon as the race begins, that entire thing collapses on top of the racetrack. So we're in the perspective of Sita, who is not only trying to dodge other racers, but debris from an entire falling piece of infrastructure. But luckily she has her Aether that can make her go slower, and she's able to successfully navigate through all of this chaos and make it through the Omen port to Amonkhet. But to her surprise, she's not in first place. The best team is the Speed Demons. She is a little confused because she thought she saw them way behind her like 2 seconds ago. Okay, odd. I don't think it's odd. I just think it's pure, speed and talent. Before this episode ends, we actually cut all the way back to Spitfire's father, Mohar, experiencing a home invasion. Now, who is invading this man's home but Jason Vraska? Can you imagine waking up at 3 a.m. to find Jace Balerin and Vraska breaking into your home? I don't want to imagine that. I really don't. I do not want to. I think I'd just go back to bed. I'd be like, yeah, I don't care what you have to say. I'm going right back to bed, okay? But they're breaking into Mohar's home to bargain with him. They understand that he wants his old Kaladesh back, and they can give that to him if he helps them. So everything's really vague so far. But with that, episode 2 ends. We move into episode 3 in the beginning of the Amonkhet leg of this race. First off, Duretti and the Rocketeers, they are really having a tough time against the End Riders because they are all literal tweakers. Like, they are fighting against a dude who is just wielding a bunch of flaming chainsaws. Like, I'm pretty sure he's juggling them. You're doing the most. I thought you needed gas. Aren't chainsaws gas powered? No wonder you guys need gas. Are there no gas stations in the multiverse? I don't know. I don't know the logistics of that, but they're having a tough time. Meanwhile, Spitfire is currently in 6th place, and she's absolutely seething. And we learn why she's racing for the Aether Spark, because she wants to be able to go wherever she wants, whenever she wants, and not have to just sit in her father's ivory tower all day, being the daughter of a former council member. Like, she wants to just see the multiverse. And, okay, I can understand why she wouldn't want to use Omen Paths, because that's a lot, and you can track that, and, what if it closes down? What if it goes away? Blah, 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 okay? With a Planeswalker Spark, you're teleporting wherever you want to be at. So I can understand why she would want the Aether Spark. Now, as all of this is happening, she sees the Speed Demons ahead of her, who were just in 10th place, which is odd. But they soon lose their spot because Chandra just gets mad seeing Loot not having a good time and throws a giant fireball at them. And when she does, she hears Loot yelp because, duh, if you throw a fireball at the vehicle that you're annoyed seeing because there's a helpless animal on it, probably gonna be a little fire on that helpless animal. Why would you do that? Why would you actually do that? Maybe think next time. I don't know. You are a pyromancer, though. Most pyromancers and red players just think they can solve anything and everything with a fireball or a lightning bolt or any sort of burn magic. I'll just set it on fire. That'll solve it. No, it won't. It won't solve anything, actually. But in all of this fire and chaos and wreckage, Spitfire sees an opportunity to take first place. And she's riding along and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking get this. And then she and everyone else notices a giant dust storm kicking up. I'm imagining it, and here we go. Dune reference. The mother of all storms that was gonna kick up in that giant battle at the end of Dune 2? Something like that. Except we're not riding sandworms into battle. We are getting the heck out of here. and going to Muruganda. So now her and everybody else is simply focused on getting away from that storm. Don't care what place I'm in. I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much. Sita does manage to scoot away into the Omen Path into Muruganda and thus safety. Next, we then get a scene of everybody making camp for the night on Muruganda, and Spitfire is admiring all of the different teams, and the one she finds herself admiring the most is Team Amonkhet, because as they walk up to their camp, they're actually raising one of their dead. It is a racer known as Kuru, who during the race on Amonkhet, I think it was the Speed Brood, one of them was like slicing at the champions, and Kuru actually put himself in front of a fatal slice that was meant for their captain, Zahur, and so he gave his life for his captain with a smile on his face. And as he closed his eyes, he looked up at Basri and said, "What is the greatest honor granted to us?" Zahur roars. "To draw breath, to die brave, to persist," Basri answers. So that guy literally gave his life, got himself sliced in half for his captain. So he is now being raised and honored for his sacrifice. And he's gonna still participate in the race, which is really awesome. Spitfire is seeing this and she feels really distraught because she's thinking, if I win this and I get the Aether Spark, then what will bro have died for? Nothing. I feel really bad. Like, she feels really bad now because they're like, the Amonkhet team is giving their lives for this. Which, hey, you know what? Fair. If I were her, I would just quit or join Team Amonkhet. You know what I mean? Or, even better, join the Speed Demons. Exactly, because they're the ones that are actually gonna win this race because they're the best team. But after all of that soul searching, episode 3 ends. Episode 4 begins with Mohar now gathering allies for what is going to be an attempted coup. And we find out through him speaking with a former captain of the guard what Jace's real big plan is for Mohar. They're going to basically set up a giant trap at the very end of the race and use that as an opportunity to wage a coup and take back Kaladesh. I don't know why Jace would want to suddenly start a revolution, but I don't know why Jace does anything. Moving back to the race, we are now on the Muruganda leg of the race. If you're unfamiliar with the plane of Muruganda, think of Ixalan. Like, you have a bunch of dinosaurs and oozes and stuff like that. And it's very, very dangerous. Like, Zendikar levels of dangerous. If you took a bunch of dinosaurs and all of the danger that the nature on Zendikar and uncertainty that the nature on Zendikar provides and smash them together, that would be Muruganda. And we are now there, and we are now racing. And in the beginning of this race, we have the perspective of Chandra, who is just riding along and thinking about cheese, la 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 la. And then she realizes she's on Muruganda, the terrain is very difficult to navigate, and she just does what most, like I said, most pyromancers do. She solves her problems with fire, and she casts a giant fireball that clears a path for her to race through. And she's like, yep, that's it. I did it. I'm in first place. False. You know who is in first place? The Speed Demons, because they're better than you. But Chandra's going on about, oh, they must be cheating. They must be cheating. Sorry, you can't stand to see Winter winning for once. You can't stand to see my boy Winter on top. That's a you problem, Miss Chandra Nalar, okay? Just because he's winning doesn't mean he's cheating. Just because you saw him go from 12th to 1st doesn't mean he's cheating. It just means he's fast. Duh. Meanwhile, while Chandra is falsely accusing Winter of something he's clearly not doing, we go back to Spitfire, who, I am gonna say it, guys, this story is great, very well written. Shout out to the author. I'm grateful for the magic story. However, I find it so annoying how much Spitfire allows Chandra Nalar to live in her head rent free. The first couple times, it was fine. It was like, okay, yeah, I get it. I'm basically taking her place. Like, yes, she is intimidating. I want to be better than her. But it is any possible silent moment. She's just like, I wonder what Chandra's doing right now. Probably being cool and awesome and pretty. Whatever. I hate her. I hope she loses. Ugh. Like, that's all it is. It's just so annoying. So Spitfire is going through this again, being like, oh, Chandra Nalar, oh, she can cast Fireball. She is so annoying and talented. And she saved the whole multiverse. And she's in such a happy, loving relationship. If you're bitter, just say it. Spitfire does accurately assess the fact that the giant scorched path that Chandra made for herself will only be navigatable by herself, and Spitfire's not gonna risk that. So she does a smart thing. She lags behind Team Amonkhet because they have like Basri slicing, like making little sand things that can slice through the foliage. So she just lags behind them and they'll just cut a path for her. I love her. I know I just was like knocking her, but she's smart. She's smart. What can I say? I would lag behind Amonkhet too. Actually, I would lag next to Amonkhet, next to Basri's side of the chariot. Ask him for his number. That's what I would do, personally, if I was in this race. But if I was in this race, I'd be racing with the speed demons, and I'd be way far ahead of Team Amonkhet, so I wouldn't have a chance to do that, so never mind. After Spitfire goes through with this plan, she is then told over comms by Pia that she needs to go off to the little sidebar of the track because a moonfall is about to happen. And basically a moonfall is exactly what it sounds like it is. Pieces of the moon are constantly falling on Muruganda, and they're about to make contact with the track, and it's gonna risk her life. So she can either try and go through it, which Pia is telling her do not do, or you can veer off, wait for it to pass, and rejoin the race later. So that is what Spitfire ends up doing, along with the Rocketeers, along with Team Amonkhet. Winter, however, being the best team captain he is, decides to brave through the moonfall. Because you know what he is? He's a winner. You know what he's got? A lot to lose. So you know what he's doing? Something reckless. Yeah, speed demons. We love the speed demons. Like this video if you like the speed demons. Okay, shut up. Now, another person that decides to brave the moonfall is Chandra, but that's only because she's reckless. She just needs to let Winter do his thing and back off. Okay, if you want to be pictured actively achieving second place, sure. You can brave the moonfall, but personally, couldn't be me, would never be me. While they are both braving this moonfall, they are actually being pursued as well by raiders who are native to Muruganda, and one of the raiders hooks a hook into the speed demon's vehicle, but it actually hooks onto Loot's cage, and so they hook Loot, and they reel him in, and they toss him into a sack. Good for him. Winter is just, he keeps on driving. He's got love is a highway. He's got that on full blast. He's like, yeah, I just got my license yesterday. Winter right now is the epitome of that one meme where it's just like a guy with an extremely veiny arm, like driving. Put it up on screen. That is Winter's POV right now. But anyways, Chandra sees this happen, sees Loot get Digimon napped, and she makes a split-second decision to stop pursuing Winter and going through this moonfall, and instead pursue the raiders that just stole this little creature. Much to the chagrin of the captain of Team Cloudspire, but she's like, hey, I'll see you at the finish line. I got some stuff to do. She veers off. Then we cut to poor Duretti, who is also with the Goblin Rocketeers being pursued by raiders and is betrayed by the rest of his team, like his co-captain. They basically, I think they like the part of the vehicle that's holding Duretti, they break that off and they're like, see you later. And Duretti's like, seriously? And then gets captured. So Duretti is getting the short end of the stick here. I'm so sorry, buddy. Cut to the raider camp. And we have Duretti and Loot sharing a cage. And Loot is in a better cage this time. Cage upgraded. Good for Loot. Duretti is yapping. Duretti loves to yap. This man will not shut up. And even Loot is like, I don't know what he's saying, but I'm just happy to be alive, man. And Loot notices, in the distance, Chandra coming to save him. Crazy! And then behind Chandra is Pia, who followed her daughter being like, hey, what are you doing here? And Chandra's like, I'm saving my little friend? Duh. And it's interesting to note that technically Loot and Duretti were being captured to be sacrificed by the raiders that captured them. So it's a good thing that Chandra and Pia are here. For Duretti, obviously. I'm sorry. That was a joke. I'm sorry. Please, be merciful. So Duretti, Loot, Chandra, and Pia hitch a ride on Doretti's ride that was also captured by the raiders. There was something that happened with Doretti's vehicle, and it was sabotaged by the Rocketeers so that he would slow down and be captured. So it wasn't like his part of the vehicle, it was his entire vehicle, which is their loss. Honestly, I would love to be in a room with Doretti. Oh my gosh. If me and Doretti were in a room together, we would never leave. I don't think we would ever run out of things to talk about. I know I put Doretti in a lower tier, but I respect bro. Is there just... Don't mind that bust of Seneca in the background. He's my philosophical guide. So they escape in Doretti's vehicle, and they are also actively being pursued by the raiders that want their sacrifices back. And they're riding through, and they're like, oh my gosh, Murgonda's so crazy, like, I don't know which way we should go. And Lute's like, go that way. And everyone's like, there's a tree there. What do you mean, go that way? And Lute's like, go that way. So they do it. They trust Lute, and they go that way. And as they're going towards the tree, what opens up but an omen path? So they discover that Winter was using Lute as a way to open up omen paths so that they could take shortcuts on the race, which is not cheating. Which I just want to point out is not cheating, by the way. This is just a natural affinity that little Lute has. He knows where different omen paths are and are going to open up. Called seizing an opportunity, guys, not cheating. And I will be honest as well, I think Winter deserves to have Lute back because he deserves to win. Can you imagine living on Duskmorn? What's that one clown card or whatever that everyone hated from that set? That guy is like your neighbor. That guy comes to your door and asks for butter. Ew. No, thank you. Can you imagine that for a second? Every single second of your day is dedicated to survival in a place that is just a giant horror show. It's like if you lived in a horror game 24/7. It's like being in Silent Hill and Amnesia and Five Nights at Freddy. But you live there always. Craziness, okay? But it's with the discovery of these little guy shortcuts that episode 4 ends. Now, episode 5 starts with, obviously, who we had in the last episode, Pia, Doretti, Lute, and Chandra. The omen path that was opened up led to Amonkhet, which is pretty good for them, but they're also marooned in the middle of the desert, and their vehicle has broken down. So, not good. Actually, not good. But they have made a very nice discovery that Lute has an affinity for figuring out where omen paths are gonna open up. So, yeah, maybe they're gonna use this to their advantage, maybe. Have they consulted Lute on how he feels on that? No, because why do we care? So they're marooned, they're repairing the vehicle, they're making camp, and they go to bed. And Chandra is having a nightmare because, if you forgot, she went through a very traumatizing event known as, seeing her completed girlfriend and the entire Phyrexian invasion. So sometimes nightmares happen. And she wakes up. And she's just like, everything sucks. And then suddenly, one of the gods of Amonkhet shows up. And it's Ketramose. Ketramose shows up and is like, you seem upset. And Chandra's like, oh, hi. You're a god. Didn't think you'd show up here because I'm upset. And he's like, I can go where I want to go. I'm wherever I'm needed is where I'm at. So you seem to be having troubles. And she's like, yeah. And she yaps for a bit. And then Ketramose says that, it'd be really cool if you could tell me of some of your adventures of the worlds outside of Amonkhet. I'm very, am interested in this. And it's from this conversation that we can sort of glean that Amonkhet wants the Aether Spark so that, if not Ketramose, but other gods can see other places around the multiverse as well. Which is pretty neat, pretty cool. Wishing the best for Ketramose. But they have a talk, and Chandra feels a lot better after this. She feels confident that she's gonna win, which is unfortunate because the speed demons are still in the race. And speaking of the speed demons, we're cutting now to the very final leg of the race, where we have Spitfire neck and neck with Winter and the speed demons. And they are, like I said, neck and neck. When all of a sudden the safety mechanisms on the track shoot up and a wall goes between these two racers who are going full speed into it. Not good. Not good at all. And we have this fiery explosion. Everything is chaotic. What is going on? Well, this is obviously Mohar, Jace, and Vraska's plan coming to fruition. Now, when Spitfire crashes, her mask falls away. And her identity is revealed, and her father finds out who she is. Uh-oh. Also, Jace and Vraska march right up to my boy, Winter, who is clearly injured and dealing with a lot right now. And they start interrogating him about where Lute is. And he's like, girl, I don't know and I don't care. And I'm not telling you. You're stupid. And Jace is getting frustrated and decides, okay, I'm just gonna look into your mind. Vraska protests this and is like, really? Do you have to do that? And Jace is like, I don't know why this is a problem now all of a sudden. Like, you're dating a mind mage. I do that all the time. And he wasn't gonna tell us anyway, so like, anyway, mind powers. But through this, Jace finds out that the cage that had Lute in it snapped off the vehicle or was stolen, and now Lute is MIA. Fortunately not KIA, but again, a joke, I'm sorry. Jace also proposes that him and Vraska take Winter as a prisoner because he's now a loose end. How about you don't do that? Or maybe do that, because then technically he's free-ish. I don't know, a little vacation? Yeah, take him prisoner. I give you permission. Yeah, I have the authority to do that. Then, while all that is happening, we cut back to the team that's marooned on Amonkhet still. They get the vehicle working, they find an Omen path to go through, and they're ready to bring this thing home. I don't know how, because everybody else has just crashed, but, well, they don't know that. They're gonna find out, but that's where this episode ends. And we move on to the final episode, episode 6. Episode 6 begins with pure chaos. Everybody is crashing, things are falling apart, things are exploding, things are on fire. Sita has been discovered by her father. He is currently midway through lecturing her on this, being like, how could you do this? Like, you are of higher standing. I have standards for you. You're educated, and here you are participating in a drag race looking really cool, but still, this is not how we operate, Sita. And she's like, yeah, you're so right. While that's happening, Chandra and the team, they arrive, and they see this chaos. They also see Jace Beleren. Okay, why is Jace Beleren here and not in therapy? So she's confused, and she's like, Jace, is that you? And Jace is like, hi, I will not elaborate. And Vraska also will not elaborate. This is their fun little gag that they're doing with everyone. Everyone's like, Jace, Vraska, what are you doing? And they're like, something big, but I won't tell you because you wouldn't understand. Okay. Lute is obviously with them, and Jace wants Lute. And it's interesting to note, when Lute sees Jace again, he's a little bit afraid. That's kind of suspect, if you ask me. But Jace puts him to sleep, makes him do a little sleepy, and Chandra again is like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to take this little animal? What is this thing? And Jace is like, I told you before, I'm not gonna elaborate. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna possess everybody to start attacking you. Which, we get this piece of art out of that moment, and that's, wow, Jace, you look really cool there, dude. You look really cool. Also, mentally controlling a bunch of unassuming people is not cool, Jace. Can we not do that? Thanks, dude. And Chandra is now in a pickle because she can obviously take all these people on, but they're innocent people that don't know what they're doing. So she doesn't want to hurt them. So she's not doing well. Speaking of people that are not doing well, Sita/Spitfire still being lectured by her father. But in the distance, she can see Chandra is currently being attacked by a bunch of possessed captains and riders and is not doing too well. Her mother, Pia, is trying to defend her and is also not doing too well. And she sees them struggling, and she rushes in and saves the day. Jace takes Lute back and leaves with Vraska to Tarkir. Also, speaking of Tarkir, there's a dragon here now. Also, Elspeth is here now, too. I don't know, man. I was reading this, and I was just like, there's a what? And Elspeth is here? What is happening? What is going on? Like, I don't have a break at all. It's just like, yeah, by the way, Sita does this, and then there's a dragon, and then Elspeth appears, and then Bolas is back, and Emrakul came out of the moon, and Urza's alive again, and Yawgmoth is back, and he's still hot. Like, what is going on? Seriously. Can we take a second, please? So I can breathe? Apparently not. But anyway, yeah. Dragon appears, so does Elspeth. Whatever. Elspeth takes care of the dragon. Nisa has also arrived. She also sees Jace and Vraska just before they leave. She's confused. Again, no elaboration given. Cool. Meanwhile, while all of this pandemonium is taking place, one person still has their eyes on the prize. Who do you think that person is? It's Winter. Winter realizes that, oh, all this crap is happening and I don't care. But you know what I do care about? Reaching the finish line. And there's nothing in the rules that says you have to drive across the finish line. You just need to cross it. So Winter gets up and starts hoofing it on a broken leg, mind you, across what is the remainder of the race. He's weaving between people, dodging things, like hobbling along, and he's going for it. Hoo, hoo, hoo. I will do this. I will be free. What is that sound behind me? I don't care. I'm gonna do this. And just as he's about to freaking win it, I will be free of the house. And then all of a sudden, boom! Team Amonkhet just drives past him and wins the race. Oh, they also don't realize that they're winning the race. They just kept racing. And eventually they were like, wow, it is chaotic today. We won! Which is so sweet, so wholesome. Also, Winter! Winter! Bye-bye! Oh, God! Literally, as the Amonkhet are crossing the finish line, and they're like, yes, we've done it. They notice a door opening up behind Winter and howling desperate pleas following before the door slamming shut. Kayfabe off for 2 seconds. I literally cried at that. Let me tell you something. Winter is not a bad guy. He is a literal victim of circumstance. If you live in a demon house, you would do anything for freedom too. Seriously, look at what Duskmourn looks like. Put up some pictures of the different rooms and stuff. These are places that you have to navigate through, and some of the creatures that you have to encounter on a daily basis. Anybody would want to be free of that. Winter is just experiencing something that is completely human. He didn't have any choice. He had to race in this race. Yes, he's not going to be the most friendly, because again, look where he's from. Look what he needs to deal with. That really sucks, man. That really, really sucks. I hope to God Winter is okay. I hope we see him again, even if he's forced into something else. Velgavoth, okay, Velgavoth, if you're listening, if you're watching this, okay, first of all, hi. Second of all, you need Winter. You don't have anyone else. Everyone else, all the other survivors are, first of all, lame. They are not as talented as Winter. Winter was doing so much for you, okay? Please, 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 do not hurt him or harm him in any way. You don't even have to really give him freedom, okay? Just use him for stuff. Don't make him into like a glitch ghost or anything stupid. Like, keep him as he is. Please. Thank you. Signed, Alice Blackblade. Anyway, congratulations, Team Amonkhet! Yay! They won the race! I'm taking this jacket off because it's really hot in here. And technically, the speed demons are no more, so... I'm not a fake fan. It's hot in here. And Winter is busy. The team doesn't exist, so I don't need to be rooting for him as much anymore. But the final scene in this story is Chandra having her wounds tended to by Elspeth. Nissa is also present. And I am so grateful for this scene because both Nissa and Chandra pick up on the fact that Elspeth is so weird now. Ever since she became an archangel, she's just like a robot, which I guess that's because her normal emotions and everything is just like on mute, basically. All she does is save the day. That's her whole personality. But like, man, she's lame. Like, gosh, live a little, girly. She also warns Chandra and Nissa that bigger things are coming along and that dragon wasn't the last they're gonna see of dragons that's been popping up a lot lately, so be wary of that, and many blessings to your relationship. Goodbye. That's basically what she does, except without the cool hand gestures, just like, yep, so many blessings to your relationship. She's weird. She's so weird now. She's so weird now. Anytime she pops up into a story, I'm just like, okay, this is gonna be weird. This is gonna be weird. It sucks. I miss Elspeth. I guess I feel vindicated that Chandra feels the same way. But after this scene, Chandra, Nissa, Pia all get a ride from Sita, aka Spitfire, to the award ceremony. And from this little ride, we also learn that Sita's father, Mohar, is now in jail. So that kind of sucks, because Sita still loves her father. It's just, he attempted a coup, so what are you gonna do, right? We also learn that, obviously, Vraska, Lute, and Jace have moved on to Tarkir. And from there, that is the end of the Aetherdrift story. I hope you enjoyed. Before I end this video, I would like to give a special thank you to my lovely patrons. We have my Reforged members listed here, and an additional shout out to Mirror Master, my one and only Shadow Slayer tier member. You can also be a member of the Patreon. It should be linked in my description below. You can subscribe for as little as $2 and you get access to some behind the scenes content. I also do some reactions to the lore webisodes as they're happening and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Join if you want to. If not, totally fine. I don't know if I'm going to do a Edge of Eternities or Tarkir TLDR episode. These episodes take a long time to make, and I can't unfortunately get them out right as the set is coming out, and there are some other things that I want to focus on too, so just stay tuned. Some of you have been wondering why I didn't make a Duskmorn video. I just didn't have time. These stories release really fast, and when I started doing this TLDR series, it was originally just gonna be for stories that caught my eye. It just so happened that the year that Bloomborough and Outlaws of Thunder Junction came out, we were really eating good for Magic in general. Like Fallout, Thunder Junction, Bloomborough, Assassin's Creed, Modern Horizon, like that was a good year. Not that Aetherdrift sucks, it's just I don't think I want to do one of these for every single story, at least not now. If I have more time than I could, but I work 40 hours a week, so I don't have a lot of time to keep up with how fast Magic goes. Maybe for Halloween I might do a little Duskmorn TLDR special, but if you guys want, you can always go and read the story at mtgstory.com. There's also a podcast, stuff like that. I understand why you'd want to have a TLDR, because not everyone has time for that, but we'll see what happens. Either way, stay tuned. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.